Hi, this is Francis Hughes, the Assistant Director and Editor of Witherburn After School News. If you're a fan of Witherburn After School News and want to support us, a great way would be to join us on Patreon. With a $5 monthly donation, you can gain access to ad-free episodes, exclusive content, and our Discord. You can also make a one-time donation on our Ko-fi and gain access to the Discord along with a special Discord role. You can find the links to our Patreon and Ko-fi in the episode description and on our website, witherburnnews.com. Or you can go to patreon.com/Witherburn or ko-fi.com/Witherburn After School News. Thank you to all our supporters. We couldn't do this podcast without you.
Hello, Witherburn. It's been quite a week. With Hunter finally being caught, the search for the bodies is underway, and the news crews have set up camp. Feels like everyone south of the Mason-Dixon line is talking about us. Interesting that people started taking notice once an influential family was involved, but I digress. At least they're talking about this. I'll try to keep the details on the case brief, though. I feel like we have all been bombarded with questions and news reporters, and we all want to focus on something else. So today, we will briefly go over what new information we have learned about the disappearances, how you can help in the search efforts, the interesting behavior of these news crews, and a very special interview with Mr. Pickler. I figured an interview with him would be a nice distraction right now. All of that and more coming up on Witherburn After School News. Let's start with the elephant in the room. Hunter is in jail and is currently being charged with the murder of 9 people. It's hard. It's going to be difficult, and it's not going to get any easier. I mean, one moment I'm happy that all of this is coming to an end. And then I'm mad because all of this happened in the first place. And then I'm crying because my friends are dead. It's just a lot right now. But it's over. It's finally over. Anyways, in terms of the investigation, the officers suspect that Hunter was getting close and friendly with the deceased before he would offer them a ride home or to go out to grab food. Then he would take them and brutally murder them. God. Many people are also questioning the police officers on how it took them this long to realize there was a serial killer in Witherburn. Most serial killer cases have the police knowing about the killers months before they are caught, but this one almost feels like a random coincidence. Also, it was the police who upheld the theory that everyone had run away, including showing evidence of text messages, which they are now claiming were forged. They have also temporarily put in a new sheriff, Sheriff Fitz, because of Sheriff Sinninger's connections to the case. They claim it's not only for investigative integrity, which they don't believe Sinninger would purposely violate, but also so Sinninger has time to heal. Which I wish him the best, and I do think this is the right choice. But it doesn't help with the whole public losing trust in the police department thing. On top of all of this, Hunter is refusing to tell officers where he put the bodies, which greatly hinders not only the investigative process, but the legal one as well. If they can't find any of the bodies, then it will be harder to prosecute him in court. They can't prove without a shadow of a doubt that it was him. The only other evidence they have is the diary entries, the DNA evidence found on his new scar, and Athena's body. Which is a lot of evidence, and it's so clear that he did it. But you want a case like this to be airtight. I know that some people will say that he's likely to get a life sentence anyway. But I just never want to see that man again. I want him to hear how many years he would have to rot away in prison for him to have paid his penance. He deserves to burn. But I'm getting off topic. He is refusing to tell officers where the bodies are located. They have some ideas, but nothing solid. So they established a county-wide search. They are accepting volunteers to help search, and you can sign up at the police station or on the Witherburn Police website. But they warn that any volunteers need to be prepared to stumble on a gruesome scene. They don't know what these bodies will look like after decomposing and after whatever Hunter did to them. They also say volunteers need to go through a training course before they are allowed to search. So if you plan on volunteering, please think about signing up sooner rather than later. Though the families of the missing, the deceased, are grateful for all of the volunteers. Many say they really just want a body to bury so they can say goodbye to their kid one last time. That's it. That's all the new information we have, despite the news crew's insistence that we have more. This leads us to our next segment. The news crews that have recently flooded our town because we have the next salacious story. We have apparently become quite the headline. True crime podcasters have even started to talk about us. I saw an advertisement the other day that dubbed it The Strange Case of the Witherburn Killings and had a tagline, "What happens when girls start dropping like flies?" Dropping like flies? Have they no shame? These were people, real people with families. And it wasn't just girls. Everyone keeps saying that it was just teen girls, probably trying to spin this case a certain way. But what about Jonathan? What about Austin? They are dead. They weren't just randomly caught in the crossfire. They were targeted, just like the rest of them. They were just kids, and they died. And now you're using their stories as some sick entertainment. Hunter hasn't even been convicted yet, and we don't have all the information, so why are people even talking about us? It's like we're just set pieces to them. So people have been flooding our town with on-the-ground reporting, which is fine. I'm not saying that no one should be talking about this case, just that I wish these people had a modicum of respect. They have been harassing people at the grocery store and trying to see if anyone has any information about the missing people or Hunter. They have also been at the high school and tried to catch kids coming out of class. It's gotten so bad that we have started to have security on the property. And meetings are being held if we should just cancel school till this all blows over. I mean, they are harassing kids for information about their dead friends. And they keep asking about Hunter. Were there any signs? Did you know him? Were you friends? We heard he was known to harass a student named Amelia Farrow Garcia. Could you expand on this? Amelia, are you afraid that you might have been next? Please. I mean, seriously, they asked Amelia if she thought she would be next. They asked a teen girl if she thought she would have died. A girl who is mourning the loss of her friends. A girl who personally told me she sometimes wishes it was her instead. It's disgusting. I just stop talking about him. Stop making it about him. It's not about him. This is not the time to question Hunter's damaged psyche. This is not the time to psychoanalyze if he showed the signs of a serial killer. This is not the time to talk about if he feels bad. I kid you not, some stupid TikToker was asking people outside of Farrow's if they had any Hunter Clark fun facts. You want to know a fun fact about Hunter? He killed people. He killed people I cared about. He dumped their bodies God knows where and won't tell the police. He made it so that mothers will never see their children again, and fathers are having to put their kids in the ground. That's all you need to know about Hunter. I'm honestly flabbergasted at this behavior. You want to know what's also appalling? I've messaged around half of these news stations before, begging them to talk about the missing persons cases, but they never did. Now they're here, and they're making it about Hunter. The Clarks have been more than happy to talk to the cameras, saying this kind of thing isn't supposed to happen to a family like us. And I think I finally get it. People cry when families like the Clarks get hurt. Because they are all American. They are rich and influential, and they are supposed to be protected from all the world's evils because of this. It's a great tragedy because if they aren't safe, then no one is. As opposed to all the other missing people. Their families were middle class or struggling or didn't fit into that American image. So the rest of the world just took their disappearance as par for the course. Take Chloe, for example. How many Indigenous women go missing? She was just another statistic for these people. I showed these news stations the evidence I got from the police station, practically begging them to do their own investigation. But they just told me that these things happen. I'm starting to think they just didn't care till there was blood on the screen and a sympathetic rich family. So what do we do about these news crews that have infested our town? We ignore them. If you want to get really crazy, then you could yell something while they're live on air. And I'm not saying you should shame them and tell them to stop harassing us while the whole state watches, but I'm also not saying you shouldn't. But seriously, don't give them a story. They can report on the facts that the police have given them, and they can leave. If you talk to them, then they will just be encouraged to keep bothering you. I know it's difficult with them around, but soon enough, they will get bored of our town and they will leave. We just have to be patient. That's all the real news I have for you. I know a lot has happened recently, and it's really, really hard to find some joy. So I took it upon myself to interview Mr. Pickler. I figured a lighthearted interview would take our mind off things, if only for a moment. He even gave us a very personal Monster of the Week, so that's fun. Plus, Mr. Pickler has been around for, forever, so he's got to have some words of wisdom. I mean, it's still pretty kooky, but it's interesting, that's for sure. I'm dragging this out. Here's the interview.
Hello, Mr. Pickler. Thank you for letting me interview you.
Why, of course, the reporter. Sorry, just getting used to that secret identity of yours.
It's fine. Let's start off easy. How was your day today?
Well, it was mighty fine. I went and did some hunting down by the creek and saw some of them gators, and I thought I was going to get in a tussle with me, but it just went on its way after I stared him down a bit, and then went down to the tackle shop, got some lures, and had a nice chat with Mr. Farrow. We talked about all them murders, and he was glad he took his daughter out of that school. And I don't have kids or nothing, but I wouldn't want them in that school either. Too much is happening. You stay safe down there, too. I wouldn't want anything to happen to you. Anyway, I just got done reading one of them books from the library, and it's been a very nice, relaxing day so far,
Yeah. Sure. How about something you're familiar with? You're known for sponsoring multiple segments of Monster of the Week. Why do you think you see so many monsters?
Well, I don't think it's all about me. This town attracts the strange and unusual, whether that's people or supernatural. But my grandma did always say I used to have the knack for these things. Some people just call it the sight, but what I call it is just bad luck.
Well, that brings us to our next question. Have you seen any monsters recently?
Well, now, a few weeks ago I was driving down Pine Falls Drive, and it was about around 9 o'clock. The sun had set about an hour before, so I stopped by the diner to give them some of the fish for that special they're about to have. Now, I usually go to bed pretty early because I have to get up by sunrise, so this was late for me. But anyhow, I was driving when I heard what sounds like something running up to my car. It made that kind of sound like kids make when they run around on a porch, It's kind of a quick and stumbly, kind of shakes the house kind of sound. Well, I thought maybe it was my car because she's a real clunker, but I couldn't figure out what that could be. So I looked in my rearview mirror, and there I saw this figure running towards me. Well, I assumed it must be a black bear chasing my car. So in a moment of just sheer stupidity, I slowed down the car. Well, I didn't want to hit a bear or something, have it come flying through my window, but when I looked back, the figure was gone, and I thought it had run into the woods until I felt my car shake. Something was trying to run me off the road, so I look over, and this figure that looked like a man was just staring right at me. He kept hitting my car, so I sped up, but he kept trailing me, and finally I turned around a bend, and it just stopped.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe we're doing an in-person Monster of the Week. Tell me, did you get a better look at this monster?
Well, he had these bright yellow eyes and these claws, but he also had these jagged teeth too. I don't know, I just kept hearing that running sound.
That's so interesting. It's like you saw a pitty pat, which is a really stupid name for a really cool creature. Anyways, it's a creature that's only been spotted on one road in Tennessee. It's known for making this loud running sound, which is where it gets its name from, the pitter patter, and it attacks cars. Its first sighting was actually in the 1800s. A woman was in a carriage with her children, and she heard something running behind them, and then their carriage got attacked. When she woke up on the side of the road, she saw a figure dragging her kids away into the woods. Not many other sightings have been reported, and it's mostly local legend, but it's crazy that you saw something similar, or at least believe you saw something similar. I can usually figure out a logical explanation for these types of things, but there are none off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's because that thing defies logic. You know, Witherburn has never been a very logical place. I know a smart young lady like you can have trouble accepting that, but you want everything to be easily explained, but most things only make sense if you accept that they don't make any sense at all.
Okay, Mr. Pickler, I'll keep that in mind. You were born and raised in Witherburn, so what was Witherburn like for you growing up? What was different and what was the same?
Witherburn wasn't that different. Y'all just got them smartphones now. Back in my day, we were still getting in all this trouble y'all get into, but, like those merry band of misfit kids, we didn't have any fancy names like that. Most people just called us meddling kids or rascals, but we did build our own fort out in the woods. It was right up by the river. We used to hang out there every day, too. We had to stop, though, because these crazy people chased us off. They had these machetes and axes, and they're wearing these weird white robes. I don't know, look like some kind of cult if you ask me.
You really think there could be a cult in Witherburn?
Well, wilder things have happened, though no one ever listened to us when we told them that story. Yeah, no one ever listens to me now. Like the police the other day, I told them I saw Athena Brunn in Mr. Clark's gray truck, and they flat out ignore me. Yeah, don't trust that man one bit, but they won't do nothing about it.
What?
Yeah, I saw Athena with Richard Clark.
Mr. Pickler, maybe we shouldn't talk about this.
Why?
I don't want anyone else to get hurt.
All right, kid. Whatever you say.
Okay, so last question.
You know you don't have to do this on your own, right? You hide your identity and lock yourself in your room, and you've convinced yourself that it's all for the better, but this town would stand behind you. You know that, right? We'd come and protect you if it meant you doing the right thing. We're the town that raised you. Remember that. I know why you wouldn't want to keep talking about this, and you don't have to do anything you don't want to, but I just thought you might like the reminder.
Thanks. I actually think that's enough of this interview. Thank you, Mr. Pickler.
The crazy ramblings of a drunk old man, right? We know the facts of the case. There's no reason to dig any deeper. I'm not digging any deeper. Because that's what you want, right? You might know who I am, but now I know who you are. What on earth could you be hiding? Keep your end of the bargain. People need to stop dying. And I'll keep mine. Good night, y'all.
Witherburn After School News is written and directed by Jordan Oliver. Our assistant director and editor is Francis Hughes. The title song is by FutureMe. The reporter is played by Jordan Oliver. And Mr. Pickler is played by Will Carter.